Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 785 of the Juicebox Podcast. For those of you wondering who Beatrice is, she's the daughter of a friend of mine who's sick of hearing my voice. That has nothing to do with this episode. On this episode of the Juicebox Podcast, we're going to be speaking with Heather. She's the mother of a child who has type 1 diabetes and another child who has celiac. While you're listening, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. The T1D Exchange is looking for adults who have type 1 diabetes or people who are the caregivers of people with type 1 diabetes that happen to be U.S. residents, and they'd like you to go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox to join their registry and fill out the survey. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. If you don't know what the T1D Exchange is, episode 783 will tell you everything you need to know. If you already know and you want to do me a solid, t1dexchange.org/juicebox. Go complete that survey. Let's take a second to thank US Med for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. How do we thank them? We go to usmed.com/juicebox, or we call 888-721-1514. Either of those things will lead you to your free benefits check and get you on the road to getting your diabetes supplies from US Med. US Med is where Arden gets her supplies, and you could too. usmed.com/juicebox. This show is sponsored today by the glucagon that my daughter carries, Gvoke HypoPen. Find out more at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. The podcast is also sponsored today by Touched by Type 1. Head to their website, touchedbytype1.org, to see all that they're doing, including their D-Box program for newly diagnosed people. You go there and just say, hey, I've been newly diagnosed with type 1. I'd like some information and some resources, and they'll send you a box full of goodies. Touchedbytype1.org.
My name is Heather. I am a mom, a nurse, a wife. My son is the type 1 diabetic. He's here with me. Say hi. Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
His name is Tommy. He is 12, was diagnosed almost at 9 years old. We spent his 9th birthday in the hospital. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
One child?
I have 3.
Oh.
He is my only son and my middle.
Okay, so 2 girls.
Yeah,
above
a 19-year-old, he's 12, and then we have a 10-year-old as well.
Gotcha. Is there any other type 1 or autoimmune in your immediate family?
0, nothing. No. His grandma has thyroid, but she had like drastic weight loss. So they always have chalked it up to that. That her thyroid like just couldn't keep up kind of thing. But
Tommy's grandmom, your mom or his father's mom?
His father's mom.
Okay. Are you married?
Yeah, my mom is adopted, so we don't know anything beyond her.
Okay.
And then my dad has nothing. His mom is 94, I think, and she takes blood pressure medication. That's it. So she's healthy as a horse.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. You said his father's. Are you divorced?
His father passed away when he was 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's something else. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on a second. All right.
It was unexpected, so it wasn't like a medical thing.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to understand the lay of the land. So, all right. So we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. I am married, but it's not his biological father.
Gotcha. All right. Well, 3 years ago, diagnosed, came out of the blue, obviously. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened?
It was late August. School had started 10 days, 2 weeks-ish prior. It was his first soccer practice. So my mother-in-law picked the kids up from school. I was at work. I'm an emergency room nurse. Mm-hmm. So I was at work. She picked them up for me, took them to her house. I got off work early. It was Tommy's first soccer practice of the season. So she has a pool. It was a half day. The kids get out early on Thursdays. So she picked him up, took him home, let him swim, hang out before soccer practice. I pick him up. She's like, I put extra water in for Bub. He's just been like extra thirsty today. I was like, and it's, it's August. It's hot here in California. So didn't think anything of it. We went to soccer practice. It's about a 40-minute drive-ish from her house to soccer practice. He makes me pull over to pee, which didn't think anything of it again. I pull over. He pees on the side of the road. We get to practice. Half hour into practice, he's, Mom, I have to pee again. And I'm like, what the heck? Okay. So we walk him up to the bathroom. He goes to the bathroom, finishes soccer practice. He downs both water bottles that I had for him. On our way home, which is about a 10-minute drive home, he makes me pull over again. He pees. We go home, he eats dinner. He's acting totally fine. Mm-hmm. No, nothing. So between 8 o'clock, or I'd say 9 o'clock that night and 7 a.m. that morning, he got up 4 times to pee in the middle of the night. He normally pees at nighttime, like once a night at this point. So by the 3rd time, I'm laying in bed like, what the heck? Yeah. And the bathroom's like catty corner from my bedroom. So I wake up every time he goes to the bathroom. And I'm like, what is going on? So my nurse brain kicks in, and I'm like, differential diagnosis, everything here. And of course, type 1 is in the back of my head. So I wake him up that morning and I'm like, hey, do you feel okay? Is everything fine? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, you good? I'm good. Like, I don't, thinking I'm crazy, asking him all these questions. I make him pee in a cup because I'm like, maybe it's a UTI or, I just want to like do my nurse stuff, see it,
Heather,
smell it, normal stuff.
You're a nurse. You love making people pee in a cup. So it's like you're
right. Yeah. A normal thing over here. Yeah. So it's fine. No odor, no discolor, nothing. So I'm like, you're good to go to school? He's like, yeah, Mom, it's Friday. I can't miss a Friday. I'm like, okay. So I send him off to school. He's not the easiest child at that age in school. So the teacher walks out and I'm like, oh, cool. What did my kid do today? So she gets him in the car and I'm like, what happened? She was like, no, nothing bad. Like, he was great, but he peed all day long. And I'm like, okay, great. So his birthday is that weekend. It's supposed to be on Saturday. So we go to the grocery store and I'm like, my husband is a fire paramedic. So normally I would run things by him, like, hey, what do you think about this? Well, he's on a fishing boat in Mexico. I can't get a hold of him. So I call my best friend who is nothing medical. And she's like, you're crazy. The only reason you think that is because you're a nurse. Like, if it was any other mom, they wouldn't be thinking this way, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, you're right. Like, there's no way it's diabetes. Like, why would that be a thing? So we're at the grocery store. I got the cake and the ice cream and all the things, and he's in line and he's like, if I don't have water, I'm going to throw up. And I was like, water is going to fix you? Like, what do you mean? So there's, I let him go get like a water from the little fridge things in the aisles, at the check stand. He literally drinks the whole thing in like 30 seconds. And it was right then I was like, okay, we're done. So my best friend, actually, they thought she had autoimmune stuff. So she had a glucometer. So I call her. I was like, hey, I'm coming over. We're checking his sugar. I can't like go another minute without like at least getting this thought out of my head.
Right.
So we check it and high.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just kept saying, I effing knew it. I effing knew it. So I throw my other kid to her, all the perishables, that I had just shopped for. And him and I head to, we went to my hospital, which I shouldn't have in hindsight because we don't have pediatrics there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I was kind of spinning at the moment and just wanted to go somewhere I knew.
I have a question. So, the idea that if I don't drink, I'm going to throw up. I've never heard anybody put it that way before.
Yeah, that's all he kept. I mean, he's here.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like, I like had, when you were like right about to throw up, that feeling like in the back of my throat was weird. And I also had the feeling that like I needed water at the same time. And then when I drank the water, I was fine. Like I didn't like, it was weird.
Okay. Hey, Heather, if you put him on again, get the microphone closer to him. Okay.
Okay.
All right. But, all right. That's really interesting and good, like firsthand feedback. He was in DKA, obviously. What was his blood sugar when you got him to the hospital?
No, he wasn't in DKA at all.
No,
his sugar
wasn't.
His sugar was 5-something,
560, right?
Yeah,
560?
60, somewhere around there, high fives. But no ketones. They did all of his blood work, and he wasn't in DKA at all.
Okay.
His sugar was just high.
So did they keep him, or did you guys?
We were transferred by ambulance to the the local children's hospital. Yeah.
And then you stayed there for a number of days?
We stayed there. So we get there on a late Friday night, and apparently the diabetes educator had just resigned and they only had a Monday through Friday diabetes educator, like a 8 to 5 Monday through Friday kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
So we hung out in the hospital for 2 days with nothing, just, insulin. I mean, he got insulin, but no they wouldn't let us go home until we got the proper education and blah, blah, blah. So 7 a.m. Monday morning, my husband was literally like at the nurse's station, like, let's go, we're leaving, give us what we need. So we left late Monday night.
Okay. How was I don't just want to know about the initial bit, but these past 3 years, has it gone smoothly? Has it been slow going, or are you in a good place now, or how's it going?
Yeah, we're in a good place now. His A1C was only 8 at diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So we caught it really, really early. And he's 6.2 now.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, we got him the tech really early. One of my husband's coworkers, his son, had just been diagnosed within like 6 months of our diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So he reached out to my husband, because word spreads pretty quick through the department and stuff. And he reached out and he literally was like, Dexcom, pump, education. Like that's what you need to know.
Okay.
So I was in the hospital Googling I had no idea what a Dexcom was. Like that isn't in my emergency, brain. So we got him a Dexcom. I would say within like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, he had a Dexcom. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months at the most had a pump.
Wow. And who managed it mostly? Because I'm trying to figure this out. Like if your husband's doing emergency services and you're working in a hospital, I'm imagining, that your schedules are all over the place.
Schedules are out of control. Yeah. I manage. My husband doesn't really, unless I'm gone, and he obviously is here with him. Mm-hmm. But I don't even think he has him. I don't even think he follows him on Dexcom, to be honest.
Okay. So it's
I don't really know that. I do. I do.
Basically you and Tommy, or is Tommy, like, how involved is he? Gvoke HypoPen has no visible needle and is a premixed auto-injector of glucagon for treatment of very low blood sugar in adults and kids with diabetes ages 2 and above. Find out more. Go to gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Gvoke shouldn't be used in patients with insulinoma or pheochromocytoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk. All right, you have diabetes, or your loved one does, and you need stuff. You need insulin pumps and continuous glucose monitors and test strips and meters. And where does this stuff come from? Well, we used to get ours from a number of different places, and they all, they sucked. But now Arden gets her diabetes supplies from US Med. usmed.com/juicebox. Better service and better care. That's what you and over 1 million other diabetes customers since 1996 are going to get from US Med. To get started, you can go to the website usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. US Med gets an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They accept Medicare nationwide and over 800 private insurers. They carry everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Freestyle Libre 3 and Dexcom G6. US Med always provides 90 days worth of supplies, and you get fast and free shipping. usmed.com/juicebox. There are links to Gvoke HypoPen, US Med, and all of the sponsors in the audio app that you're listening in right now, in the show notes of that app, or they're at juiceboxpodcast.com. When you click on my links or type them into a browser, you're supporting the podcast. So thank you very much.
Very, very involved. Yeah. He goes to school and does it pretty much all on his own. Mm-hmm. I text him, but if he
really respond.
Yeah, if he responds,
I don't see it because school's school. It's like so much going on. I'd never feel my phone vibrate or anything, and I keep it on silent because I get in trouble.
They have a pretty strict no phone policy at school. So
yeah, I texted Arden for about 2 hours this morning trying to get her attention, and she finally was like, "Hi."
Yeah, that's literally like, yeah. I get like, I have like the read receipts on his phone, and I tell him like, just read it. Like, you don't even have to respond, just read it. And then I know you saw it at least, but I don't even get that. Like, it just, he pretty much manages on his own.
Oh my gosh.
While he's at school.
Sorry. Yeah. So that's very interesting actually. So he's making decisions about his meals on his own. I mean, do you tell him how many carbs are in it or et cetera? Or does he figure it out?
I pack his lunch every day, mm-hmm. and it's a paper bag, and I write the carbs on the bag.
Okay.
And then he'll dose what I write on the bag. I keep it within the same, it's either 20 or 30. Like it's one of the two usually, mm-hmm. depending on like what sports he has that day, or he can't have any insulin on board for activity. I mean, if he has like 1 unit, it's about the most he can. He dumps.
He gets low.
If he has anything, really, like he's very, very sensitive during exercise.
So are you saying on days when there's activity after school, he gets fewer carbs at lunch so that you can use less insulin?
It's usually PE that I worry about during the day.
Oh, okay.
After school, insulin's usually gone by his after school stuff. Mm-hmm. But if he has PE after lunch, then I have to like kind of reduce the carbs in his lunch.
Got it. Does he eat similar things over and over again, or just you keep the carb count similar?
He pretty much eats the same thing. Yeah. I might change up the like fruit or chips that he takes, but for the most part, it's the same thing.
Pretty similar. Okay.
Sandwich, pickle, Jello, cookie or chips.
It's pickles and Jello.
That's his like favorite thing. He takes Jello every single day. He loves Jello. And it's easy. So
yeah, you just said fruit. Now I'm realizing when I'm done here, I have grapes in the refrigerator. I'm going to go have some.
Yeah, he loves fruit. So
I'm just amazed that as I'm listening so intently to you, and then you said something, and my brain was like, "You should have grapes later."
That sounds like Tommy's brain.
Yeah. Well,
just looked at me and said, "What?"
Can I ask, like, what made you want to come on the podcast?
I listen pretty much daily. I'm not caught up yet. I started from the beginning. I'm one of those. So
I appreciate you very much. And you
I'm
should
on like
all be
580. I'm getting there.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
How long?
It's not every single day, but
yeah. How long ago did you start?
Yeah, no, it's definitely every single day.
Oh wait, hold on a second. Tommy says you listen every day.
yeah.
I hear it every morning. Every morning I wake up to the sound of you.
That makes sense to me, Tommy. That's my goal. So I apologize that you have to hear my voice, but I'm not going to.
No. I think it's kind of cool because, like, it's cool that my mom enjoys listening to things that help me. It's really cool.
That's nice. So you started, how long ago did you start listening, Heather?
2 years ago, probably, honestly.
And wow. See,
that's why I say it's not every day.
Well, this is the dedication I need from people. Like, you're really putting in the work to listen. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing that everybody says, you know, like you don't get near what you need from a doctor. I mean, I see him every 3 months, and ours has been Zoom for 2 years now.
Yeah.
So it's really nothing. You know, I make all the changes myself. I do it all. Right. I mean, I literally go so that they'll renew my prescriptions for things. And I mean, and they're great. They're nice. They're lovely, but they don't really do much.
Is that hard for you to say, being a nursing professional? Is it?
No.
It was
No,
was
it's the truth. I mean,
was it even surprising?
It was surprising.
Okay.
For sure. When I went into it, I know how to get someone out of DKA. Mm-hmm. That is what I know. That is my wheelhouse. I've been a ER nurse for 15 years. So I can get you stable, and then I give you to someone that can teach you how to manage. I don't teach people how to manage type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
So I thought I was going to go into this world of education and knowledge, and, you know, no one even mentioned CGMs or Dexcom or nothing, a pump, nothing to me while I was in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And if I would bring it up, it was like, oh, we'll talk about that later. You know, oh, we'll cross that bridge later. And I was like, no, what do you mean later? No, like, this is now. This is happening now. Like, I don't want to talk about it later. Right. So his first appointment after diagnosis, I said, I want a Dexcom. And she's a very, very nice lady, but she just kind of smiled politely and said, oh, well, you know, we'll cross that bridge. And I said, no, I'm at the bridge and we're going to cross it today. And she was like, well, you know, we like people to know how to manage better. And we're assigned a nurse and a physician at the clinic. And the nurse spoke up for me, and she said she's a, 13-year ER nurse, or 12 at that point, whatever. I think she's okay. I think that she has her knowledge base. She's not going to understand diabetes more than she already does. I think that, they're ready. Yeah. And then she looked at my 9-year-old and said, are you ready? And he was like, what? For what? I don't know. What am I ready for? Like, he had,
Yeah, I just come here because they tell me to, and then we're going to have lunch later. So leave me alone.
Literally, exactly. Yeah,
I don't understand.
Literally it.
I don't understand that concept at all, to be perfectly honest. I mean, can you imagine if someone came into the ER and they were experiencing, I don't know, like skip beats in their heart or something like that, and they said, hey, put me on a heart monitor, and you were like, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Why are we not there now? And what exactly is going to happen having good data? How's that going to stop you from learning diabetes? And
it literally, all it was doing was saving his fingers.
Yeah.
The CGM. And that's what I explained to them. Like, I'm checking his sugar. I took 6 months off of work after he was diagnosed, because the school was, they were lacking education for, to be nice. Mm-hmm. And they had no idea. The nurse there was an LVN, and she was a hospice nurse prior to being a school nurse. So she just had no idea on how to manage a type 1 child at all. It was to the point where, like, when he's low, I give him insulin, right? And I was like, whoa. Like,
everyone slow down.
Good God. Yeah. So I bought books. I literally made a PowerPoint and took it in, and the principal and the teachers and the nurse were all there. And I went over everything with them. I went in 3 times a day. I went in for snack, for lunch, and then 2 hours after lunch to check his sugar. for 6 months I did this. So
did you learn a
for
lot?
them to,
Did you personally learn a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the biggest thing I took away from it is like not to be so scared.
Mm-hmm.
I was so scared to send him anywhere.
Yeah.
Without me being like, I'm just staring at him like, are you good? Are you bad? What's your sugar? What are you doing? How do you feel? You know, like
I know that feeling.
until the Dexcom pretty much.
Well,
our first soccer practice after diagnosis, because I mean he's 9 and he's active and he's like, I play on a soccer team. Why am I not going to soccer practice? So it was literally a week from diagnosis. He was like, I'm going to soccer. It's Thursday, right? And I was like, yes, you are. Sure, let's go. So I, you know, at that point, I felt like I was carrying a suitcase of stuff around, and I'm like, let's go to practice. So then after practice, I've been like really good about the food and the carb counts and measuring and weighing and all that stuff. And he said, can I have McDonald's? And I was like, okay, normal kid first. Like, I want to give him what he wants. I don't want him, you know,
sure,
to feel different or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, McDonald's, sure. Let's do McDonald's. So I Google it, the carbs, I dose him. He eats, you know, he's going along and he's like, I'm fiddling in the kitchen and he's finishing up and he's like, Mom, I don't feel good. And I was like, what do you mean you don't feel good? And he's like, I don't know. And I turn around and he's gray. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go and I get the glucometer. I check him, 27.
Oh, yeah.
He remembers, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember like the McDonald's part, but I do remember coming home. She's doing something in the kitchen and I come out of my room and I'm like, I don't feel good. Like it was just so fast.
Right.
And so I kind of, it's not the same as it was. Probably because I've never been that low ever. Like that's the lowest point I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quick.
Yeah.
It was really quick.
Heather, what happened? Did you over bolus for the food, you think? And then it caught up to him?
I think he was still kind of honeymooning.
Okay.
But we had no CGM.
Yeah.
So, you know, I checked his sugar before he ate. I counted the carbs. I gave him, it was McDonald's, so it's a hefty bolus.
Right.
And I think the exercise preceding that I didn't take into account. Now I know how sensitive he is to exercise, but I had no clue then.
That story takes me back to what you said about the people at the hospital who get to decide whether or not you get technology or not. You know, this very basic old timey idea of, oh, you need to understand it without the tech first. Like, there's nothing about going through that experience without a CGM that made you better at anything.
It made me worse.
Yeah.
If anything,
it made you scared.
If anything, yeah.
Yep.
At that point, I remember calling my husband, and he was at work, and I was like, "I'm taking 6 months off," and he was like, 6 months? Like what? What are you talking about? And I was like, "I'm taking a leave of absence from work. There's no way I can leave this kid. Like, there's no way."
So
my
many
husband
people
was like, okay,
yeah, he was like, oh geez, I gotta get another job. But
yeah, I got paid. I mean,
but so many people have that initial feeling, and that's what I'm saying. Like if in that moment, that McDonald's example, if you have a CGM, you would have gotten beeping and arrows, and you would have said, oh gosh, something's happening, and you could have given him sugar previous to him getting to be 27. He was just about ready to have a seizure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally had dreams about it for, I don't know.
No, I bet you
a
did.
month, I would say.
Oh, I bet you did.
I mean, I made him sleep with me. My 9-year-old child that hasn't slept with me since he was, I don't know, ever.
Yeah.
He's not a co-sleeper. He never has been. So he was like, when can I be done with this? I remember him asking, when am I allowed to go sleep in my own bed?
Yeah.
My husband is sleeping on a full in his room, and he's in my bed with me.
Well, let me,
it was.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. This is funny you bring this up because just yesterday, Arden had a sticky 190 blood sugar after a meal, and she's not feeling well. So I went after it with more insulin, and much more quickly than I anticipated, she dropped. So I probably either got too aggressive or got aggressive in a moment when she was about to come down to begin with. But anyway, 30 minutes, 40 minutes later after this bolus, she was 85, 2 arrows down. I have not seen 2 arrows in a really long time. And it was not a big deal because we got the notification and, she drank a little bit of juice, had a little bit of stuff, and we caught it before it was ever a low. But even at my level of understanding, without a CGM, I never would have expected that drop like that. It just, it was outside of my belief in that moment that could happen. And so, I've been doing this for a long time. If Arden's almost 18, I've been doing this for like 16 years, and I'm the guy from the podcast, and I got taken by surprise the other day, and the CGM, the Dexcom saved my butt, and Arden. So I don't get the idea of you need to struggle before we let you have this technology. I hear there. I would always. I wish that I realized back then you were new to it, but I wish you would have had the wherewithal then to say why. And just ask them why are you saying that? Because I don't know that the next explanation is going to make much sense, other than this is how we do it. So, that's the, our first appointment. That was pretty much what I said was like, why? Yeah. Like, well, we need you to have a better basis of knowledge. And I was like, then my bachelor's degree in nursing, or I don't, yeah. Or how about why can't I get that knowledge while I have the safety system in a Dexcom? What's wrong with that? Well,
doesn't Dexcom give you knowledge? Well, yeah, like that's what it is to me is knowledge. Oh, an apple hits him like this. Oh, okay,
right.
Oatmeal hits him like this. Oh, okay. Like it's all,
Yeah, that I'm telling you,
it's exactly what it is.
I'm telling you right now, that's a bullcrap answer from them. And
it's just,
unless you're just, listen, I mean,
it's your pot roast is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. They say it because that's what they say. And listen, there might be a situation where there's a family in there where maybe, I don't know, what if your parents don't have 2 brain cells between them? Maybe they're a little scared to give you something like that. But this is clearly not your situation. And I just find it to be antiquated advice, and I'm not a fan of it, is all. Yeah. I
mean, his first, and no one's ever given him an injection but me and my husband. Mm-hmm. Even in the hospital, the nurse came in and she's like, "Okay, are you ready for your dose for breakfast?" And he looked at her and he said, "You're not touching me with that needle."
I don't know you.
And I thought he was scared. I thought it was like a scared thing.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, "You're a nurse, you do it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, that's." I mean, I feel like that's reasonable,
Right.
1, I'm a nurse, and 2, I'm going to be doing it anyways. And the nurse told him like, "Oh, no, buddy, that's not how it works." And he told her, he was like, you're not going to do that.
It's how it works today.
And, and he was dead set and looked her straight in the eye. And he was like, "That's not happening."
Yeah.
And so, and she was like, "Are you comfortable, Mom?" And I was like, "Giving an injection?" Yes. Like, I think I'll be okay.
I think I got it.
Yeah. And then, you go into the room and they're like, "Here's an orange." And my husband and I look at each other and we're like, "Great."
Did she not know you were a nurse?
I don't think that nurse, the night shift nurse when we got there knew, but I don't think it was passed on, I guess, in report or whatever.
I see.
And then the educator had zero idea that we were medical.
Had any background at all. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. She had no idea.
Wow.
So we just went, I don't really like wear it on my forehead or anything. So I just kind of went along with it, and I was trying to be nice and listen. And, this is glucagon. You take it out of here and you put it in. And I'm like, like I did yesterday at work.
See, you're so polite, but I got a call. How do I tell this story? So I put my name, Arden's name, on the list for Omnipod 5 through Omnipod, just like everyone else, who used my link did. And I got a call from, like just a salesperson basically from Omnipod, and they're going over everything, and she's explaining it in this just very basic detail. And I stopped her. I believe I was very polite. And I said, "Hey, listen, can we just, for the rest of this conversation, you should assume that I know as much about this as could possibly be known. Like, I don't need you to tell me the real basics of all this. And she was like, oh, okay. And then just was able to change streams. But you know, I do understand, like, in all these situations, they don't know what you know, and it's their job to put it out the way they do it. It's just, it gets frustrating sometimes. Like, even when you call someplace, I don't know, to place an order for something, they start asking you these benign questions about, like, my favorite one is, I called, what the heck is that place where we used to get our medical supplies from? Oh my God, how can I not think of it? Anyway, we use a new place now, but that's not the way. I called and the first answer, the question the lady says is, does your daughter use insulin? And I'm like, I'm calling you to get insulin pumps. Like, the first thing I said to you was, I need to order insulin pumps. And now your first question is, does my daughter use insulin? Like,
yeah.
Okay. Like, I know you're reading from a list, but when does common sense come into this conversation? And
or just a little bit of, you know, and thinking before you speak kind of thing.
And I completely understand that that's the job and that she needs to read that list. But, and I'm not, I mean, it's not incredibly frustrating, but after it happens to you a couple of times, you're like, oh, like, couldn't she have just said, I realize she uses insulin because you're ordering insulin pumps, but I need to ask you this, like, legally, so, or whatever. And I would have responded yes. I don't know. We
went and got him a physical for sports the other day, and I just went to, like, the local chiropractor's office. It's quick, easy, $40. You walk out, you know. And is there any medical problems? I said type 1 diabetes. Oh, okay. They write it down. Then I, you know, asked another something else. Any medications? And I just, like, insulin?
Insulin.
Like, yes. And he was like, okay. Like, it, like, took him by surprise. And I was like, wait, what in the heck? I don't know. Granted, he's a chiropractor, I guess, but
I don't know.
And they probably don't see type 1 kids very often, but, you know.
I was in an intake meeting with Arden as she switched OBs, and the same thing. Like, the questions for 10 minutes were just mind numbing. Like, you would have to know very little about diabetes not to have to ask these questions, and you just sit there and nod along. And listen, it's not a big
every
deal.
Year,
yeah,
same thing. You know,
I know. I just think about poor Arden, like, for the rest of her life, having to sit in a room going yes, 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 yes. You know, like, just being irritated.
They always ask restrictions. Is there any restrictions for sports? I'm like, no, nothing.
He's all good.
No.
Yeah. Are you sure?
No, there's no restrictions. Like, you know.
Because you just said he had diabetes. So are you sure there's no restrictions?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what they think. And then I'm like, nope. And they're like, really? Like, you know.
Yeah.
It boggles their mind. And I'm like, he's fine. Like, he's good.
Yeah. I just interviewed Robin Arzon yesterday. It's not even up yet.
I saw that.
Oh, cool.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. And she's, you know, I mean, she rides that bike like a lunatic, and she's okay.
She's a beast.
Yeah, she's going crazy.
Yeah, and she just had a baby.
She did. Yeah, she's a new mom, and
yeah.
So that's what I think of restrictions. So I keep hearing Tommy cough. Has he got the? Has he been struck by the rubella? What's going on over there?
No, I don't. This whole household is going through this. That's my voice is kind of funky.
And I got a whole bunch of people at school sick because of it. Now I got mom sick, and she's never sick. So I kind of feel bad because she's got a whole bunch of stuff to do today. So.
Little typhoid Mary over there, huh?
I don't know. I think it's like the spring cold, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Like, we never get sick. I mean, I feel like I see every illness ever.
Right. Yeah.
You know, being where I work and my kids both go to public school. Like, I feel like we're good, but for whatever reason, this one got us.
Arden, the other day she was at school and she texted me and she said the tire is low on the car she took, and she's like, I need somebody to, you got to come over and put air in it before I leave. I don't think I should drive with it like this. And so I happened to be in the parking lot pumping up Arden's, like, car tire when she walked out of school, and she had this, like, fun, like, kind of fun, like, playful face on. She's like, I just got out of there. She goes, so many kids have a stomach bug. I held my breath walking through the hallway. And
that's crazy. It's here too.
Yeah, it's all over the country right now, it seems like.
It's so weird. Yeah.
How that,
we, knock on wood, haven't got that one. But
right. Oh my gosh.
That's like my biggest fear with him. I can't. We haven't ever crossed that bridge. So
I just don't want to be sick. and
Yeah.
I don't know about Arden. Arden doesn't usually get sick that way, but I am, just with,
He doesn't
like,
either. He's
vomiting
always
and stuff.
respiratory. He's always like cough or throat or, he had to have his tonsils out when he was, I think 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's always had, that's what I feel like maybe pushed it, I guess. Cause they always say, some kind of, he had strep forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 4 or 5 times a year he would have strep.
Really?
Yeah. Until I got his tonsils out at 5 and he's never had anything since.
Do your girls have you ever checked them for antibodies? Done trial?
We did trial net. Yeah, we did trial net like I don't know, the first month pretty much. Like I think I ordered it while I was in the hospital. And then they're both negative. But my oldest has celiac.
Oh, okay. Oh, so there is autoimmune in your family then?
I guess, yeah. I never think of that. I don't know why.
I know people. That's
I was
why
thinking
I
of like moms, grandmas. I don't ever think of my kids, but
yeah. Tell me a little bit about her celiac diet, because we were actually talking the other day about having Arden eat gluten-free for just a couple weeks to see if it impacts some things that are going on with her. Was it much of a transition? When did she start eating that way?
We've probably been eating that way for over a year now, I would say. And we did it initially. She's always had gut issues, like ever since I can remember. I mean, not as a young child, but in like puberty, I would say, is when it like actually came to. She doesn't go regularly at all. So she's always had gut issues. I never went the celiac route when she was younger because in my brain, celiac is like diarrhea and, the opposite of her issues. So I never thought that. And then she brought it up. She's 19. So she was probably 17 or so. And she's like, I think I want to try gluten-free. And I was like, okay, like it's pretty easy nowadays, So we did, and it helped a lot. And then she went and got the antibody test and it was positive. So now we're waiting on a scope.
Okay.
They want to scope her. She was admitted for colitis to the hospital. I would say 8 months ago or so. And then that sparked the endoscopy.
Okay. Hey, would you?
Because they were like, what was that?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
That was just she finally could get the referral and people started believing us kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then her primary was like, okay, I'll do the antibody test. That came back positive. So now we're waiting on the referral.
I see. Can you talk a little bit more about the symptoms that led her to think gluten?
She had like really bad spasms in her stomach after she would eat, a lot of pasta or bread or whatever. The constipation was a big one. She has to have fiber like all the time. I mean, the girl takes more fiber than, my 90-year-old grandma.
Yeah.
So, but the pain was a big one. Bloat. She has bloating really, really bad. I mean, the girl's 5'5" and 100 pounds, and she looks like she's 3 months pregnant after she eats a piece of toast.
Okay.
That was a big one. Sometimes she would get rashes, like depending on the type of gluten, or like, I guess not the type of gluten, but the source that the gluten comes from. She would get like a rash. And I always thought it was like a topical thing, like she would touch something or, like dermatitis, not like actual allergy. So I would just treat it with Benadryl. It would go away. But now looking back, it was all gluten.
Did she ever have any tingling in her
headaches.
Toes? Headaches? Any tingling in her toes? Like they feel like they fall asleep or anything like that?
No, she never told me that one.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Headaches.
Headaches are a big one. Yeah, the headaches are pretty crazy. They like almost instantly went away.
And no,
she still has like gut issues. Like she still has like issues going to the restroom, but no rashes, no more headaches, no more bloating, none of that.
You ever try probiotics to see if that might help her a little?
Yeah.
No impact.
She's 19, so she has the things. Whether or not she takes them is up to her.
So what kind of things does she eat now that she's gluten-free? You just get like substitute foods, or did she make a shift in how she was eating? And did the rest of you do it along with her?
We did not. No, gluten-free pasta is so gross. The bread is not the same. So we did not. I cook two things usually when we make pasta or bread or whatever. I'll make her, a gluten-free pasta or her a gluten-free bread. Yeah, Tommy doesn't mind it, but Tommy eats everything.
Yeah, I don't mind anything, honestly. Like, there's barely anything I don't like. Like, if mushrooms, I don't really like those. Onions, that's
just a couple
that's
of
all
things.
I can really think about.
Yeah, just a couple of things he won't eat. Yeah, I really do think we're going to actually do it here. I'll do it with her.
There's a lot. There's a ton of stuff nowadays. Like rice, quinoa, potatoes. Those are now her like main starches. But the biggest thing for me is so much stuff that you don't even know. Soy sauce, teriyaki sauce, mayonnaise. Like it all has gluten. Your laundry soap, your body wash.
Really?
Literally has, yes. That's the kind of stuff that like I had no idea. So my best friend, she adopted a little girl 4 years ago, and she was having similar symptoms to my daughter. The headaches, the rashes. She was really, really irritable. She's 4. So I think she was just in pain, and like it came out as irritability. She had the diarrhea portion. She always said she had a headache, always said her belly hurt. So, and then the kid is sick all the time. I mean, like if there's anything, she will get it 100 times over. She gets it. And so I told my best friend, like, it's autoimmune. There's something autoimmune going on with her.
Right.
And finally we got the doctor to order, blood work, comes back positive for celiac. So, she had her endoscopy. With kids, I guess it just goes faster. I don't know. So she already had her stuff, and she's like pretty severe with it. So it's been a big learning curve for everybody, but it's definitely helped them both to take the gluten out of it. We went as far as like, you can't use like wood cutting boards because it will hold the like spores of the gluten. So we have like all plastic or metal, or, no wood utensils, no wood cutting boards, stuff like that.
So she gets a little bit of contamination. She can tell right away.
The baby, the 4-year-old,
the baby,
my daughter's not as sensitive, but the baby, yeah, like for St. Patrick's Day, she goes to daycare, and it's my best friend of 25 years. So it's pretty much my sister. So we do dinners weekly together. And we did dinner that night. We did, St. Patrick's Day dinner and stuff. And she came home and I was like, what did you eat at daycare? Like, why are you acting like such a little turd? And she, nothing, like I didn't eat anything. And I'm like, okay, well then come to find out she ate the little like gold chocolate, like coins. It was like a thing at daycare for St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
And we Googled it, and sure enough, there was gluten in it. And the next morning, my best friend called. She's like, Brinley has a rash. Wow. And I was like, oh, well, it obviously had gluten in it.
See, everything.
So just, little stuff.
Yeah. Most of the things you're talking about, like, reflect back that Arden experiences that, but her celiac testing comes back negative. She doesn't have antibodies. And so we're thinking of just maybe getting her a scope, which seems drastic, but that's why we were thinking about maybe just cutting things out to see if there's a shift. And then it took a week, I would say, at the most. Really?
For them both to be like, oh wow, okay. Like it was pretty apparent for the both of them.
Gotcha.
That it was, and like my oldest, like we we kind of just did it. And I was like, if it works, it works. Like, even if it's nothing, even if it's negative, if it makes you feel better,
who cares?
It's so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard, like going out to eat and stuff. That makes it hard. Because you have to have like designated fryers for fries, because you can't put chicken nuggets in the same fryer as fries.
Right.
And you can't, it's going out makes it harder, but at home, and we don't eat out a lot. I mean, we live in a pretty small town. There's like 2 good restaurants. So once we figured out those 2, like we're pretty good now to eat locally, but we eat at home most of the time, and it's easy at home.
Okay.
So
I appreciate
it's just
you telling
harder
me.
to go out.
I appreciate you sharing that with me. That's a lot of good information actually about
there's a ton of stuff on Facebook too.
Yeah.
Like we follow like celiac parents of celiac or something like that. And it's, there's so much information on there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. What else? Is there anything we haven't talked about so far that you wanted to?
Not really. I didn't really have, my biggest thing was just perspective. That's why I emailed you.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tommy and I listened to one of your podcasts on the way somewhere. I don't know. And I looked at him and I was like, at least your diagnosis story wasn't traumatic like that kid. And he looked at me and he said, for you. He was like, what do you mean it wasn't traumatic? And I was like, well, I mean, it wasn't traumatic. Like we figured it out and we went to the hospital. And he goes, yeah, but I thought I was going to die.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Like, I guess that's something that like, we're so wrapped up as parents that like, I've never asked him. Like, do you have any,
how was it for you?
Quote unquote traumatic, things, or does this affect you differently? Like, I don't know how it affects him to wear a pump all day long.
Right.
I have no idea. I don't do it. Like it's just stuff looking from, and especially like he's 12, he's coming into his own and has his own thoughts and feelings on things that aren't exactly mine. And having that perspective of your kid, I think is a big deal. And I'm a little bit better now about like, where do you want your pump site? Do you want to do it? Do you want me to do it? Like giving him a little more, say in it, because it wasn't a choice. I didn't ask him if he wanted Dexcom. I didn't ask him what pump he wanted. He was 9, and I don't know, it kind of doesn't work like that in our household. Like I'm the parent, I make the decisions, and you just nod your head and go along with it,
Right.
So I've never really gotten his perspective on it, which now is, I do more that he said that to me.
It's a nice growth moment for you. And I understand not giving a 9-year-old a ton of say in what happens with medical decisions. But growing along with it. And and I'm glad he shared that with you, that, I mean, that every story doesn't have to be, I'm thinking of the big ones from the podcast, right? One boy had to take a speedboat ride while he was in DKA in a foreign country. And that poor kid who was diagnosed on the transatlantic flight. Like stuff like that. Like it seems, it's more like an action movie story about somebody's diagnosis. But just, going to the hospital and being there on your birthday. And that's, you're 9 years old. It's a big deal.
Yeah. And that's, I didn't, I don't know. He was never in DKA. He was never sick. He was never.
Right.
It was,
seemed easy to you.
Fine to me. Right.
Yeah. Well, compared to what you see at work, right?
That too. Yeah. And I think being a nurse, I'm not the most compassionate person. I'm kind of like, are you bleeding? No. Dying? No. Okay, go. Like, you're good. So I kind of have that mindset about it. But I mean, there were like traumatic moments for me. I don't want to say traumatic because I mean, we're fine, but like more, the 27 blood sugar, and like he, I think, had forgotten about that until I mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting here, he's like, oh yeah.
Right.
So like that obviously didn't, like it caught me.
Yeah. Well, it's a different, that's again, perspective. Like he's low. He doesn't know what's happening. You're the one who's staring at the number and running over the scenarios in your head and the expectations of what may be about to happen next. And that's frightening,
Yeah. When I've seen a diabetic seizure way too many times, and that's all I can think about. And I think obviously at that point, he's just like, the world is spinning. What is happening? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, like about the birthday thing, I had a good birthday, like, because we had a birthday party after because my mom felt bad. I had everything there. Well, except I couldn't have the cupcakes, but that's fine. That we had a game truck and all of the stuff that I wanted. It was definitely cool. It was.
Tommy, do you think you got a guilty birthday from your parents because they felt bad about your diabetes, or was that about a regular birthday party?
Yeah, definitely not regular. Like, it was crazy. I had like a bajillion friends over. It was so much fun. I got so much stuff. We had like a game truck, and I wasn't really in the game truck that much though.
Heather, look at you painting yourself like a tough parent, and then you were like, honey, get the credit card. We're going to make this boy a circus for his birthday.
I will say the game truck was already planned. That was already a done thing. We just moved it to the weekend after, but he did get, my thing is like, you want a birthday party or a big present? Unless it's like a big birthday, 10, 13, 16, 18 kind of thing. So he was like, I want a birthday party because he was 9. So it wasn't like a big one. Well, then after all that, I was like, oh, he's getting everything. I'm
gonna make you feel better and tell you that the year after Arden was diagnosed, we put a water slide in our backyard, an inflatable. It might have been 50 feet high.
Yeah. I don't know. It was horrible. I felt so bad. Yeah. We tried to make it good. I had like the grandparents came and we opened presents, and, I had a banner in the room. So everybody that walked in knew it was his birthday, that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's never fun for a kid. This kid is so resilient though. It's crazy. I mean, he's so go with the flow, and he's just easy. If it was my girls, I would still be in a corner crying, I think, 3 years later.
You don't think they would have handled it as well, or?
No, I don't think so. I'm telling you, it has never stopped him. It's never gotten him down or been sad or I can't because of diabetes or nothing. I mean, and he's on the soccer team and the track team currently. Yeah. And he runs cross country in the beginning of the year. The kid is up at 6 a.m. every day. He's at practice by 7. He practices until 8:30, goes to school from 9 to 4. He has practice after school of the other sport from 4 to 5:30. Comes home, does his homework, eats dinner. I mean, like, he's constantly going, and he never complains. Never. I'm like, you got to change your site today, bud. Okay. We got to change your decks. All right.
That's awesome.
It amazes me for sure.
That's really awesome.
And what, I think he's growing. I think I just upped everything yesterday. But the last week or so, he's been so high. I mean, not so high, I mean, 180, 160, but, and like stubborn, so stubborn. And so I'm like, hey, tonight we're going to like kind of low carb it-ish. And then he can't eat carbs for breakfast. He eats at 6:30. We're out the door by 6:50 and he's at practice by 7. So I can't have insulin on board when he goes to practice. So he eats no carbs in the morning. And maybe 5, 10 at the most.
Right.
But, and nothing. He doesn't complain. He doesn't, oh, I want this, or, oh, I can't, or, whatever.
Has he always been like that? Has he always been a kid like that? Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Heather, good.
He isn't the like easiest, he is now, but in elementary school and stuff, he was a little stubborn for the teachers and stuff, but he's not now. He's not like that anymore. I think he's learned that consequences come with stubbornness. So he just kind of
give it in,
let that go. Yeah. But he's always just been real easygoing.
I have a couple of minutes left. Is it possible? Could you hand that to Tommy? Could I talk to him for a couple minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Cool.
We're just I have AirPods, so we'll switch them.
All right. Thank you.
Good.
Hey, man.
Okay, there we go. Hello.
Hey, can I ask you a couple questions?
Mm-hmm.
Day to day, do you think about diabetes with any kind of frequency, or is it not something you're constantly thinking about?
I honestly don't think about it enough. Like, I feel like sometimes I like totally 100% forget about everything. Not everything, but sometimes I just straight up forget.
Do you count on your mom to kind of keep you focused?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
All right. Are there times where you handle things on your own and then tell her about it, or do you always wait to confer with her before you do something?
Like in school, yes, but not usually. Sometimes I'll wait to confirm and sometimes I won't.
Do you have any problems while you're doing any of your running? How do you manage your blood sugars, like during soccer or cross country and things like that?
I just gotta keep it steady. Like if I'm steady going into it, or like don't have any insulin on board, I'm good. No, I'm good like 100% with running. I'm really good with all that type of stuff.
Okay. So you don't have to eat before you run. You just make sure you don't have active insulin.
Sometimes, but the biggest thing about it is just no insulin on board before like doing exercise.
Gotcha. Let me think. How do your friends interact with you about diabetes? Do they, or do you not really talk about it with them either?
Well, my friends just kind of they know, and then that's that. Some people will they'll bump into me and they'll feel my Dexcom, or they'll see my my pump string. And they'll be like, "What's that?" And then I'll explain the whole thing, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's cool," and then just kind of move on with their day.
Yeah. Now you sound like you don't give it a ton of thought. Does it ever make you sad? Have you ever had a moment where you feel like, I wish this wasn't happening, or do you generally don't think about it that way?
No, never. Like, I honestly think it's just another roadblock for me to have to get through.
Yeah, that's crazy. Are you good at school? Do you like school, or do you hate it?
Oh, well, honestly, it's school. I mean, I don't really like it, but I have my friends there and stuff. So yeah, in elementary school, I hated it to death, but I'm better now. Like it's all right.
Right. How is it having an older and a younger sister?
Tough. Like I wish I had brothers, but from everyone else's perspective, they say brothers are terrible, but I don't believe them.
You don't believe that? Do your sisters mother you? Do they treat you like they're your mom?
No. My younger sister, she's just super, super attitude. She just sees me and then just bam is grumpy. My bigger sister, I love her. She's awesome. She's just, I annoy her a lot though. Like a lot. Like I could just say a word and she's like, "Oh, you're so annoying."
Don't worry, that'll go away in like 10 more years, maybe.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. What else? Is there anything about diabetes that you would want people to know?
That, because a lot of people, I know this isn't really something that you should be affected by, but I find it really annoying when people are like, "Oh, so you just ate a whole bunch of sugar and you just are like super sugary and sweet, and that's why you have diabetes." Like that's like what upsets me. I'm like, no, I didn't eat sugar. I was born with it. Like,
do people say that to your face? Like, have you heard? Like, have people said that to you, or is it something you hear kind of in media and social media?
A lot of people know that some people are sensitive by that, so they're not really just like open to being like. But some people, when they're trying to like affect me or something, they're like, "At least I don't have diabetes." But that's what gets me a lot. Like I'm like, dang.
So they just use it to pick on you when they need something.
Yeah, when they don't have any comebacks, they use that.
Maybe
I'm
Tommy,
like,
it's just that
you're
so cool they can't find anything else to make fun of. Maybe.
Yeah, and I've literally like sat in bed one time and just thought of comebacks to get from that one thing.
Got yourself some pre-recorded comebacks in your mind now. You're all set.
Yeah.
but to go back for a second about that idea of like, oh, you must have eaten too much sugar. Like, is that like, has anybody said that to you, or is it just the thing you hear sometimes? Like, does that make sense? Like, are you hearing it? Like, is it other people's concerns or other people saying, "I hate it when this happens," or is it actually happened to you?
Like not usually. People usually they don't know what type 1 is. They just like know type 2.
Okay.
So they're like, "Oh, so you just ate sugar." It's not usual though, because they know like some people are sensitive about that stuff, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah. Are you ever afraid that people
Sometimes.
will think you have type 2? And would that matter to you?
It doesn't matter too much, but if they do say that, because like sometimes it annoys me. I'm like, do I really look like I'm ate too much sugar and stuff? I'm like, but no, not usually.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate you answering my questions. Thanks for doing this. Did you have a good time watching your mom get interviewed?
Yeah.
Yeah. How is she as a mom? Pretty good. She can't hear me, right?
Amazing. No, she can hear you.
Oh,
but
she can hear me.
She's
Never mind.
she's awesome.
Cool.
She's awesome.
That's excellent, man. I'm really was really nice to talk to you. Thanks for taking a second and jumping on.
You're welcome. Thank you for talking to me. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, you're like the one person that I look up to. Like, it's super cool.
Wait, I am?
Yeah, like you're the person that you taught my mom so much stuff, and I'm literally talking to my mom's favorite person. Like, it's super
You're
cool.
a celebrity in this house, Scott.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
seriously.
lovely. Well, Tommy, listen, if you ever want to come on the podcast and do your own episode, let me know, okay?
Ooh, okay.
All right. We'll find out. We'll talk about like important things like, girls and sports and stuff like that.
Ooh, okay.
All right. Well, very nice. Thank you so much for saying. That was really kind of you. I didn't expect you to say that. I really appreciate it. I'm glad the podcast has been really good for your mom and then for you too. I'm thrilled actually. That's wonderful to know.
Yeah, it's nice to know that I'm seen by someone that's literally like a god in this house.
It's very strange. You understand, Tommy, that's a weird thing for me to hear, right?
Diabetes god. Let's put
Like,
that.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
not like a weird way god, just like super cool. Super cool.
My family's going to make fun of me if they ever hear you say that. You know that, right?
Oh gosh.
All right, man. That's really wonderful of you. You wanted to put your mom back on? I'll say goodbye to her.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks so much.
Hello.
I didn't know I was going to get called God, or I would have talked to him a half an hour ago. I mean, geez.
I emailed you like, I don't know, probably a year ago, and was like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I can't, blah, blah, blah. Pretty much all you told me was more, of course. I just needed someone, I guess, to tell me that. But I had you on speakerphone, and both of the little kids came running in, and they were like, because they know your voice from the podcast. It was pretty funny.
That's so strange.
They came running in. They're like, "Is that Scott?" I was like, "Yes, it's Scott."
Well, I might one day get used to hearing that, but today is not that day. So, I'm again, obviously, I'm so happy for you guys and how things are going so well for you. And he seems like maybe the most level-headed, well-adjusted 12-year-old I've ever met in my life. So.
He is. He's a pretty awesome kid.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Well,
I don't know. I don't know what I did. I think it's more him, but
well, just try to find something to take credit for. And
I mean, I birthed him. I guess I'll take that one.
Yeah, just start at the big things. Well, Heather, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks. Have a good day.
You too. A huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, Gvoke Glucagon. Find out more about Gvoke HypoPen at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. You spell that GVOKEGLUCAGON.com/juicebox. I'd also like to thank Heather and Tommy for coming on the show, and of course, US Med. To get started with US Med, call 888-721-1514, or just go to my link, usmed.com/juicebox. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're enjoying the podcast, please share it with someone else who you think might also enjoy it. Show them how to get into their podcast players or into Spotify. And here, just, click on this, then you're following or you're subscribing, depending on the app. These are the things you could tell these people. And please, if you're listening but not subscribed in an audio app, oh goodness, could you please do that for me? Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, the list goes on and on. Anywhere you get audio, you can find the Juicebox Podcast. Last little bit, if you're looking for a community around diabetes, look no farther than Juicebox Podcast Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. The group now has over 30,000 members, and there is a conversation happening right now that pertains to you. I guarantee it. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook.